why you'll often hear nunchucks don't work for self-defense. But I'm going to ask you the question, do they not work, or do they? We're going to discover that question, the answer to those questions together. If you have a pair of nunchucks, you're going to warm up with me. We might as well, we've got them in our hand, might as well learn how to use them. Your hand's in the middle, you're going to spin it to the outside. Now, the number one reason, the first reason, we're going to get right to it, that people say nunchucks don't work for self-defense is because of the length and the shortness of the weapon, and being able to swing it like this, because it swings and because it goes around in circles. The assumption is, even with some people who have used it, maybe they didn't learn how to use it correctly, but the assumption is there's no power in the strike. Now we're going to talk about how you can create power in this strike and turn that argument that nunchucks don't work for self-defense into a yes, they do work for self-defense if you know how to use them properly. So with this basic warm-up, your hand is in the middle of this chuck. And your hand being in the middle of the chuck is very important for the warm-up because it gives you maximum amount of control while you're starting to lubricate the joints, get the blood flowing, learn how the nunchuck moves in space and time. Turn your palm over. You're going to do an orbital on the outside. We're going to go inside and outside as we continue to talk about that first reason why nunchucks simply don't work for self-defense if you don't know how to use them properly. And so a lot of people will see in the movies where they see a friend use them, where they watch a Naruto cartoon or something like that, and they think, oh, well, you know, that doesn't create enough force. But the key is when you hold it in the right position, now your short stick, your short weapon becomes a very long stick, almost the length of a hanbo or a short fighting stick. And from here, you're able to strike maximum force and create maximum amount of damage. So in this case, that first question, that first myth about martial arts weapons for self-defense, nunchuck working or doesn't it work, is debunked. So if you say nunchucks don't work because it's too light, which a lot of people, I've heard that argument over and over and over again. That's why I picked it number one. It's because you're holding it wrong. And when you're striking usually holding here or holding here, and you're doing a spinning strike, expecting this spin to keep somebody back, to keep someone off of you, to stop the fight for self-defense. When you need to understand, for self-defense, you hold it here, create maximum leverage, and you strike with only the tip. Just like you would with a sword, with a ctually stick, an eskrima stick, or a knee stick, any kind of weapon, the sword tip, a machete, a staff, a striking staff, wooden, metal, otherwise, doesn't matter. You're striking just with the tip. If you're punching, you're not punching with your whole arm. If you're striking with your hand, you're gonna hit with this little bone, that shudo or knife strike. That's just that little part right there. That's where the power is. If you're punching in a karate style or a martial arts style, you hit with just the two knuckles. You don't hit with a big square fist like you would in boxing. In boxing, your hand is covered with a big glove. It's a sport. Self-defense is totally different. Everything, all your force is concentrated, whether it's empty hand or with the weapon. So the first question, what does nunchucks, are they adequate for self-defense? Do they work for self-defense? Is it just a frivolous weapon? The answer is no. They're very effective for self-defense if you know how to strike, and you have to hold here, and you're gonna hit with just the tip. And that's gonna bring me to the second argument of why you can't use nunchucks for self-defense, and that is, people say you hurt yourself more when you use the nunchucks for self-defense than you do the other person. So question number two, or reason number two, do nunchucks work for self-defense? No, because you hit yourself, it comes back, and you bash yourself, and you hit them, but it hits you, and that's the assumption a lot of people make, because again, they pick them up, they don't have proper training, their instructor might not know, even if they have an instructor, or they watch a movie and they make assumptions, based on what they see, not what they've experienced. It's where action always beats theory. And so what's happening is when they're hitting, it's coming back and it is hitting them, and it hurts, especially this kind. This is a hard piece of metal, and this right here, you can hear it. Those will cut you. When those hit you, this part here will open your skin, take an eye out, break off or snatch your nose right off your face, break your teeth down your throat for self-defense. It's very effective for self-defense. But if you're holding it wrong when you're striking for self-defense, it's gonna come back and it's gonna smash you in the hand. So you get 1 or 2 strikes in, and all of a sudden, you're hurting yourself more. Good, I'm glad the breathing worked. Adrish, it's hurting you more than it's hurting them, right? So your argument, nunchucks, that's not a self-defense weapon. That's just for the show. That's for the movies. That's just flashy, no good. Absolutely wrong. You just need more information. You need to learn how to train with it correctly. You need to learn how to hold it here. Once we warm up with this figure 8 motion, I want you to go into striking up and down so you can start to learn the answer, the correct answer. These nunchucks work for self-defense. The answer, or they don't, right? No, they do. Nunchucks do work for self-defense when you're using them for self-defense. If you're using them for a show to do some cool stuff, even if you drop them, just pick them up. But you're doing your tricks, you're doing your spins, you're fighting the backhand, you do some throws and catches, go to the other hand, go behind the back, go around the neck, you do all kinds of, wasn't sure I was gonna hit myself on that one because I hadn't really warmed up. Not with spins, I was warming up with strikes. But you're doing all of the cool Bruce Lee things, and then you say, well, yeah, that's cool for the movies, works with stuntmen, doesn't work for self-defense, or does it? The answer is yes. So if you're hitting yourself, when you're practicing hitting against the bag or a stack of tires, or you're swinging through the air, practicing with a vision of self-defense, and you're smashing your own knuckles or your wrist, it's where you're holding it, and it's how you're striking with it. It's where you're holding it, and it's what part you're using to strike the surface, to strike the bag, stack of tires, pole, or the guy with a knife, multiple attackers, a bigger opponent. For street self-defense, you're defending yourself. You don't have a choice. You happen to have this, you need to hold it here. So let's practice the basic vertical strike. Think about coming down just on top of the head. We're coming down, they're trying to stab, they're trying to grab you, punch, smashing. And when you strike, visualize and aim when you're hitting the target. Just this much is hitting. And here's why. If your hand is here and you hit resistance, it's gonna bounce back. And if you're holding it correctly here, when it bounces back, it's gonna hit there. When you're holding it correctly and you hit with the tip. Now, if you hit with the middle of it, because you didn't know you were supposed to hit with just the tip and not the middle, hit with just the tip and not the middle, and so you're holding it correctly, but you're hitting here, then this is gonna be slack. It's gonna be relaxed. It's gonna bounce back and smash your hand every single time. So what you have to do is you have to train. It's all about training. Accuracy, when you come up and down, you want that full, you want the weight and the momentum, the kinetic energy, the stored energy in this piece of the nunchuck, the second stick, to be pulling this away from you so that that is taut, so that it's tight all the way. And so when you're striking with just the tip. The first practice strike, the way you will practice to get good at that is just up and down, and think about what are your targets to remove or destroy for self-defense. Their ability to see, breathe through their nose, teeth, down their throat, ability to breathe, or is it the throat? Or are you coming in with a strike to end the fight permanently for self-defense, only for self-defense? Maybe they're trying to strike you or grab you or stab you with a knife. And so your target is their hand, their wrist, their joints. You're gonna go for their joints. All of the points that will break or make them crumble and fall to the ground. So you have to aim for those, and as you're aiming, making sure that you're just trying to hit with this part. Like I said, that's what you're gonna do if you have a collie stick, a screamer stick, or niece. That's how you slice with a knife. That's how you, even with a bayonet on your rifle, if you know how to do it properly. If you have a sword, a katana, you're striking just with that, and it's a slicing motion. The machete, you're cutting trees down, branches, you're walking through heavy brush, and you're chopping down weeds and bushes and tall grasses. You're making a slicing, arcing motion, and you're going for just the tip. And when you sharpen it, yeah, this is gonna be sharp too, but this does all the work. And that's the same thing here. So when you're holding here, you're holding properly, maximum leverage and aim. You want that aim to be there. You're going through and you're targeting, coming either down at an angle, which is your second strike. So when you go up and down, your second one's gonna be across the body, striking through. And then you're gonna bring that strike up into the other opposite direction. And anytime you hit something, if you're coming through and you're only hitting this part, you're holding here, and it happens to bounce back, it's gonna go like that. It's gonna bounce back, and it's gonna hit itself and not your hand. Your hand's gonna be safe from injury when you're using this for self-defense properly. Even with these horizontal strikes, that's where people start to hit here, and when you hold here, I'm gonna go slowly because it'll hurt. And they hit in the middle, and they smash their own thumb. I just felt it in my thumb. They hit in the middle, and it bounces right back. I have to go a little bit. I'm tentative because I know it hurts when I do it. Bounces back. You can hear it. It's hitting itself. It's hitting my hand. Every time you go in the middle, that's what's going to happen. So the second reason why you can't use this for self-defense, if you don't know what you're doing, the answer is yes. You can't, it's not an effective self-defense weapon. You know how to use it? Yes, it is very effective for self-defense. From here, hold the end for maximum leverage. That means the most power, and strike with just the tip. Practice that over and over again. And you're not going to be hitting yourself anymore. It's not going to come back and smash your own hands. Now, the third reason that most people say that this is not an effective weapon for self-defense is because they get hung up on all of the flashy. I just dropped it again. You know what? When you drop it, you just pick it up and you keep going, and that's good because the harder it is for you to do something, the more you'll grow when you don't quit. So pick it up. Keep picking it up. In fact, if you're not dropping it, you're not growing. You need to drop it more often. So people start doing all of this fancy stuff, and then they assume the person who doesn't really understand it. You know, maybe they come from a martial arts school that says everybody else's style is wrong, but ours. You know some of those schools, right? Some of you have seen those. You know, every other martial art is bad and doesn't work except for our system. And no, that's not right. It's not good. It's not bad. It's simply different. And as soon as you understand that that's the truth, then you understand that all of these moves have use and value when done correctly. But if you watch a movie, or you watch a demonstration, or you watch a pumse or kata, some kind of form, or somebody doing freestyle and showing off and doing all, and they might not even know, they might know all of the cool tricks, right? But they really don't know how to use it to fight. But that's what we're talking about. Does this really work for self-defense? Yes, it does. Yeah, absolutely. You know, you can't get better than bow staff for learning all the basic moves for all the weapons, in my opinion. So that's probably the best weapon to start with is that long martial arts staff. And I'm glad you bring that up because, and I think you said you got one of these, right? You got this one and maybe some bands. This is that two-piece bow staff. I'm going to send this out to one of you who are subscribed either as a member here on YouTube or on Patreon. And I think the Patreon keeps growing, and you guys keep growing this YouTube channel. I really appreciate that, either joining or subscribing. But also just send me an email. Go to pasquinelli.com, and I'll enter. You don't even have to pay me anything. Watching and training with me is payment enough. And at the same time, I really appreciate those of you who financially support me and allow me to keep doing this, because I can see the writing on the wall. It's going to be hard for the next few years to have in-person learning. I feel like, you know, everybody's going to get vaccinated. We're all going to have cards or something or not. But there's going to be another reason. The economy is going to struggle for a little bit, possibly. So it's going to be hard to do in-person classes in a way that makes this, makes it easy for me to justify the financial investment of running a martial arts school, which I've done for 30 years now because I love it. Oh, good. Yeah. Maybe the next weapon we get will be a two-piece nunchuck. One that, because they have them. They make a collie stick that's all one piece, and then you unscrew it, and it comes out with a chain, and you have nunchucks. I haven't got those yet, but those are super cool. I'm trying to get those so I can sell them on that site. But I'm gonna give one of these away. So if you are not a paying member on Patreon or here, then just send me. Oh, good. Yeah, you're right. And you know, I've had I was blessed to teach PE in person in a school in Ohio, a private school, for 5 years, and I loved it. Loved every minute of it. And I've been blessed to be able to do that here in person again, in addition to this, but we're getting shut down. Or, someone comes in, so-and-so's uncle tested positive, and then, they saw him at Thanksgiving, so that whole class is out for 2 weeks. And it's just like, wow, how can you make progress? And we see it, Danielle. We see everybody gaining a little bit. And I'm not trying to be critical or mean. It's true. We've all put on a little bit of weight, some COVID weight. And thank God that those of us who get to teach have, are being forced to stay in shape because we're teaching all the time in front of the camera. But we need in-person contact. We need to see each other. We need to get out there. We need both. And so what I'm saying is I appreciate you guys. And so I have one of these. On April 15th, I'm going to pull the name from my hat. I'm going to put all the names who are either sent me the message on pasquinelli.com or are a member here on YouTube where it says join below, or on Patreon. And I'm going to pull a name out and I'm going to give that away. And I just got some other things in for the next giveaway. The next giveaway after this is going to be a walking cane for those of you who train cane. And then after that, I got some really sweet fighting fans. And the fighting fans to me are like the nunchucks. It's like everybody sees it and they think, and that's what we're talking about, this third reason, like it's too fancy. You can't use that. That's not practical. And it's because they think it's the fancy moves that you're using for self-defense, and it's not. This is disguising repetition. Disguising repetition. So if I'm doing this, I'm not necessarily going to do this for self-defense. This is this strike and that strike with full speed, force, and power. Doing it together allows me to freestyle. Now, that spin in my hand that I keep dropping, that might not necessarily have an immediate use, but look what it did. It put the chucks in the backhand, and these are also very powerful, effective self-defense strikes from this position. And then I go back to here. In self-defense, am I going to get up and start doing all this stuff? And somebody pulls a knife and I'm going to be swinging and going hand to hand like in the movie? No way. I'm going to be standing like this, or like this, or like this. And then I'm going to strike. And that's what you're going to do for self-defense. So understand the purpose of spinning is to condition the body, condition the hands, condition the feet, picking it up over and over. No, condition the hands, right? Condition the arms, the wrist, the forearm, to build that strength in your grip, to practice familiarization with the weapon. You want to be able to bring the weapon behind your back and know where it is in space and time without smacking yourself in the elbow like I just did. You didn't see that one. But the point is, all of this, that looks good in the movies. And people see that and they say, oh, nunchucks don't work for self-defense because it's a movie weapon. It's ineffective. But you didn't understand, or they didn't understand, that by doing this, you've just practiced this strike 1,000 times. And so when you go to defend yourself, that strike comes out so fast, so powerful, so much accuracy that you are far ahead of the bad guy, the person who's trying to hurt you, take away your dignity, take away your life, take away your stuff, and you, not your money, but like your ability to move around without fear, your need to feel like a real whole person again, right? People have no right to take that from you. And you have every right to defend yourself. And so if the nunchuck happens to be your weapon of choice, if it's legal, and that's kind of a bonus reason, right? And that's the kind of tricky one. Good, I'm glad you practiced piano. We practiced piano this morning too. Put the little earphones in and picked up the app on the phone, pulled up a couple of YouTube videos and played Baby Shark and practiced Spanish, German, a little French this morning. We do that now instead of watching the news. We do that now instead of consuming the lies. And I'm not saying that they're lying to us. I'm not saying fake news. I'm just saying that there's a financial incentive for the media companies to get us like all crazy and afraid. I don't want to live afraid. I want a full life. I want you to have a rich life. So I can do something that adds value to me and my family. And exercise is one of them, right? Languages is really important. Music is important. And with the internet now, we can do all of it. And it doesn't cost very much at all. It's very inexpensive. I think our piano app will be $9 a month, $9.99, and you know, it'll be the same, not the same, it'll be different than having an in-person piano teacher, but I gotta tell you honestly, as the way that my brain works, it's better for me to come and go, pick up a little bit, which is why I have so many of you following me here and training with me, because you do the same thing maybe. It's easier to rewatch it and slow it down and turn the volume down and see what I'm doing with my hands, and then you can pick it up. And if we were here in person, you can't do that. You can't push the button on me to make my lip zip and slow down so you can see what I'm doing. I might try to slow it down and show you, but with the video, you can do all kinds of stuff. It's amazing. All right, so that final reason is that these are illegal in some places. And that I don't have an answer for. If these are illegal where you live, don't carry them. If these are illegal where you live, carry a walking cane for self-defense. Carry a hiking stick. You can use, this is a bow staff, you can use that bow staff to strike for self-defense, and it doubles as a walking stick. Maybe one, or maybe this one's too long, and you need to have, look at that long screw. That's what makes these so sturdy. That's why I like them so much. Maybe you have a hanbo, which is, you know, a shorter stick. Now you've got a stick. You can do some of the Irish shillelagh, you know, fighting arts. You can do all of your strikes. They're very powerful, very effective. If that is not the answer for you, but in the case of the nunchucks are illegal where I live, if that's the reason that it's not a good self-defense weapon, then yes, absolutely. You can't overcome that reason if being caught with them is going to get you put in jail or fined, or they're going to take them from you or whatever. You'd rather have something that makes sense. And in that case, you know, a cane or something else is really important. Yes, I agree. I agree with all of that. Thank you. So from here, oh man, I'm so sorry. He was probably showing off, wasn't he? Dads do that sometimes, Brandon. I apologize on his behalf. Maybe I'll pull your name. If you've signed up or you sent me the email, maybe I'll pull your name and you'll get a two-piece bow. All right, so get your nunchucks, practice, find your own reason why these work for self-defense. Let's review real quick in case you joined us late. The number one reason why nunchucks don't work for self-defense is because they're simply too light. And when you strike with them, they bounce, or you hit yourself in the hand like I just did, and they're just too light and they don't cause any damage for self-defense. But the one reason why they can is the opposite of that is if you don't know how to hold them right, if you don't know what you're doing when you're striking because you didn't learn or that instructor didn't know, and a lot of instructors simply don't know because they only know the cursory stuff, the superficial stuff. If you hold it correctly, now all of a sudden your nunchuck becomes a long piece of wood, metal, whatever it's made out of. And if you know how to strike it correctly with the right angle and hitting with the tip, it's a very effective self-defense weapon. So the number one reason why nunchucks don't work for self-defense is because it's too light. But that's not real. That's not a real answer. It's too light because the person who said that didn't know how to use them right. You hold it here for self-defense. You hold it here for warm-up. You hold it here sometimes and look really fast and look really cool. But self-defense, we're not looking fast. We're not going, or going fast, we're not looking cool. We're waiting, right? They come in, bam, and it's one strike, and then two and three, and you just defend yourself with it. Good. Keep practicing. Then the second reason why nunchucks don't work for self-defense, or do they? The second reason is that when you hit with these, you do more damage to yourself than the other person because every time you hit, it comes back and it smacks you in your hand or in your head or your arm. And so it's ineffective. And again, the reason that that's happening is you're not holding it correctly. Not you, but the person who says that. They don't understand that when you hold it here and you hit here, which is not the way it's designed to be used, they're holding here, they're swinging, and they're hitting right here with this big middle part. That's the weakest part. The only thing weaker is if you hit them here. But you're not supposed to hit there. You're supposed to hold maximum leverage for self-defense. And you strike with just the tip, just this tip. Now, when you strike and you go either through the middle, that horizontal strike, it's not coming back and smacking me in the hand anymore. And you come down at this angle, or you go straight down over top. When it does bounce back, it's gonna hit like this. And see that? It doesn't hit my hand. It hits itself if it hits anything. If you hold it correctly, it's not gonna hit your hand. And so that reason is completely debunked. That reason's moot. Doesn't exist. So that second reason that you do more damage to yourself because you hit yourself and it bounces back all the time, that's why it doesn't work for self-defense. Wrong. You're not holding it right. You're not striking with the tip, which is the only way you're supposed to strike with it. From here, striking through, and then you're not hitting yourself. And when it hits it, you hurt it. It hit itself. It didn't hit my hand. The third reason is that all these fancy moves, right? They're impractical. They're going to time you, and while you're swinging, they're going to jump in and punch you. Like in that movie, Indiana Jones, and the guy, it is a little bit different, but the same concept. The guy's, I think he's spinning his big saber. Maybe he was the guy in the turban or whatever, and Indiana Jones takes up the gun, shoots him. And yeah, they have a gun, forget it, you're done. This does not beat the gun. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about all the fancy moves that you see Bruce Lee does, Mighty Guy does in the Naruto show, or his sidekick, I always call him Spike Lee. It's not Rock Lee, that's it, Rock Lee, or whatever the Ninja Turtle is. I would never remember the Ninja Turtle's name either. Yes, in the movies, it's, stunt guys fighting, and it's choreography. And so when Bruce Lee's doing all this, he's doing the high-pitched scream, he's going hand to hand, and then he's doing this, and he's in here, bam! Now that's a good move. From here, you create some tension, squeeze, release it into their face, and all that works. Mikey, yes, Mikey's the Ninja Turtle with the nunchucks. But those are movies. We know those are movies, so someone watches that, and they're too literal. They take themselves too seriously. They can't do the whole suspended reality for a minute and just enjoy the movie, and they're saying, oh, that would never work, that would never work. Well, yeah, it's a movie. It's not supposed to work. It's supposed to entertain you. So relax, get over yourself. Anyway, so they're right. If you do this stuff like they do in the movies for self-defense, it doesn't work. But if you understand why, just like spinning the bow staff, and again, this is that two-piece bow that I'm going to give to somebody, mail to somebody who's a member. So people see the bow staff and they say, oh, that's ineffective for self-defense. Oh, that's spinning. What, are you going to spin it? No. The spinning is to condition the hands, build the grip, build strength, power, speed, to loosen and strengthen the fingers. That's the purpose of all of the spinning. It's to condition the body, condition the heart and lungs like a boxer jumps rope, to condition the muscles to make them stronger, harder strikes, like a boxer punches a heavy bag or works on endurance on the speed bag and works on getting used to it coming back in their face. That's why you spin a weapon. And the same thing is true for this. It gets confused when you see it done for demonstrations like at a tournament, or if you see it in the movies. What you're watching is entertainment, right? And yes, the moves that they're doing can be used for self-defense, but you wouldn't do that routine. It's like a kata. You're not going to do the kata for self-defense. The kata disguises repetition of the moves. That's why people get it all wrong. They're like, oh, if you do katas, you'll never know how to defend yourself. No, if you understand why you do the kata, then you can understand that when you work on doing it correctly and building speed and power in every technique, then when someone goes to punch you and you break their wrist with the block or your hands fast, and then you can deliver the knockout punch for self-defense, then you realize, oh, that's what the kata was for. I wasn't supposed to use the moves of the kata. That was disguising the moves I'm going to use for self-defense. Same thing's true here. This figure eight motion, you're not using that for self-defense. But figure eight is striking, right? And then the rest of it, it's wrist rolls, finger rolls, going around the back of the head. That's all familiarization of the weapon through space and time, timing, distance. Timing and distance beats speed and power every day. Meaning, if you have better timing and distance, you're getting a little older, or you're just naturally not as fast, the bully, the bad guy, the thugs, the creeps, the criminals, they can be stronger, faster, younger, there can be more of them, but you have better timing and distance because you've spent hours in training, not just spinning, but also striking, you're still gonna win. Most of the time, right? Luck comes into it 10% of the time. But that's why you train, and that's why martial arts and understanding the value of martial arts training allows you to overcome your weaknesses, your inability, you're being slower, you're being weaker, you're being older, not moving as well. And those of you who are older and you've experienced it, if you've done martial arts for a long time or you boxed or whatever, you fought the younger people and you still dominated, you still won, not with speed, not with power, but with timing and distance, timing and distance. Timing and distance, another word for that is experience. Experience. That's why you just can't give up. Don't assume that your age is going to be the limiting factor. You have wisdom. You have so many good things going for you. Don't give in. Don't believe you have to give up because you're getting older. You don't. You just learn to use what you have and leverage what you have, which is what life is all about anyway. You start to see more of the world and enjoy more of the world. And then the last reason is that you can't use nunchucks for self-defense if they're illegal where you live. And the answer to that is, you got me. I don't have a, or is it, right? Can you use nunchucks for self-defense if it's illegal with you? No, you can't. Or where you live, you know, you pull that out and you use it for self-defense, and then they take you to jail because you had an illegal weapon. So if that's the case, I'm sorry, I don't have an answer. That's off the table. Get a cane and train with a cane instead, or a hiking stick, a walking stick, Japanese Joe. If you can carry the long staff, carry the long staff. If you go to that first link below, all those weapons are in there. You can see what they look like, how much they cost. They're not expensive at all. And then come back to me and we'll train together. I'll show you how to use them. I appreciate you guys being here. Please send me your questions and your comments. I try to go, for those of you who are paying members, and I really appreciate it so much. You guys will, you get first dibs. You ask me how do I do this, how do I do that, then, you know, I'm just gonna try to see what I can get you to, you know, how I can answer your questions first. But I answer everybody's questions. I try to anyway. And I'll try to make a video on anything you ask me about. Also, I'm gonna work on the membership levels a little bit. Those of you who are at higher membership levels, I'm gonna try to get you one of these t-shirts soon. So be looking for that. I really, thank you. I appreciate you liking my videos. I like you guys watching them. I feel like we're training together.